Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 237th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing great.
We're on Cloud 9 today.
Yes. They did it. Missouri won an NCAA tournament game. Dennis Gates solidifying this as the best Mizzou basketball season since joining the SEC.
Yeah, the drought is over. Yeah, it did hit me yesterday. This is the first tournament win in 13 years, but first tournament win as a member of the SEC. That's weird.
That's kind of sad, but we can now put it behind us and not think about it anymore.
Yep, that monkey is
the
off
page
our
is
back.
turned.
Yep.
Yes. We just decided to hop back in here real quick and talk about the fact that Missouri won this game, and not only that, but Princeton beat Arizona. So now there's a little bit of an expectation to maybe win another game that I wasn't expecting being there.
Yeah.
Before we get into all that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review. You can also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Kyle, we were feeling good about the Utah State game going into it. It didn't go. It was weird. It was like the outcome was kind of what we thought was going to happen, as far as like Missouri winning and it not being a nail biter at the end. But the path to that finish was a little strange.
Yeah, way less scoring than I think we thought, and the way that the team scored was totally different than I think either one of us thought. But it was kind of an ugly game, kind of a struggle. But and there was a couple of scary moments in the second half where it felt like, all right, Utah State's going on that inevitable run that we kind of felt like, at least I felt like, was coming the whole game. But Missouri pulled it out.
Yeah, Utah State shot 4 of 24 from 3. That's 17%. And obviously that was the scary part of their offense going into this game, was their three-point shooting. Mm-hmm. And, you mentioned sort of how we were feeling going into the second half was like, oh, we're only up 4, and Utah State has not made a 3 yet. So they're due for like 5 made threes in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, they averaged 9 3-pointers a game, and they were 0 for 11 at halftime. So, just thinking like if they even hit their average, they're going to hit 9 threes in the second half, which obviously did not happen, and they didn't come close to that. But it felt like Utah State could have played a lot better, and I think maybe Missouri was to credit for that. But I think we maybe dodged a little bit of a bullet there just on how well Utah State played.
Now, maybe I'm crazy, but I felt like Utah State was not getting as many just wide open looks as we have seen Missouri in SEC play.
That's true. It did feel like Missouri was playing better defense, at least on the perimeter, which they clearly were making that a priority.
Yeah.
And the 2-point defense suffered a little bit, and because Utah State was honestly kind of going to town there in the paint for most of the game. But I felt like that was the strategy that Missouri was willing to go with, and just kind of we'll give you this almost as long as you're not making threes, and it worked out kind of in the long run.
Yeah, I feel like both teams kind of prioritized extending the defense out and pressuring the ball beyond the 3-point line.
Right, which is not really something Missouri's done all year or very consistently at all. So kind of crazy that, that's just good coaching, and that's having older, experienced players to kind of switch up what you've been doing. And just in the tournament too, it's just like, all right, we've got one shot to play this new strategy and to do it well in a big moment. So that was awesome.
And it looked like Missouri's athleticism was giving Utah State problems even in the half-court defense. It seemed like the rotations were sharp, and Missouri's size on the perimeter caused some problems. Mm-hmm. There were multiple times where they were just letting Kobe or Aiden Shaw guard a couple of these guards and just basically be like, we think our guys are athletic enough to keep you in front of them, and if you decide to pull up, you're going to have a hand in your face.
Yeah, I think you're right for sure that Missouri's athleticism and length, they just close out faster than probably Utah State's used to in the Mountain West, which there's some good teams in the Mountain West, but It did just kind of feel like, which we thought that might happen, that Missouri's athleticism would take over, and I did notice that for sure. That sometimes Aiden Shaw would just be like at the top of the key, guarding like the point guard or whatever, and honestly played pretty well, moved his feet and stayed in front of the guards.
Yeah, the announcer spotlighted a few times that matchup between what's his name, Ashworth and Noah Carter.
Yeah,
and the first couple times he was able to get to the basket, but I feel like it evened out a little bit. Now that was probably the best case scenario as far as like getting the switches to get a mismatch for Utah State, was to have their point guard matched up against Carter. But I thought he held his own. He gave up a couple baskets, but he wasn't letting his guy have room to make a three.
You're right. Yeah, and I mean that's kind of been the case all season. Is Noah Carter has a little bit of a liability on defense, but what he brings on offense is so valuable that he's got to be out there. And yeah, I agree. If he's even playing decently on defense, it's worth just having him out there because he's so good on offense.
Mountain West Conference, before San Diego State won their opening round game against Charleston yesterday, the Mountain West Conference was 0 for their last 10 NCAA tournament games.
Yeah.
Nobody in the conference had won an NCAA tournament game since 2018.
Yeah, and they went 1-2 yesterday. Utah State and Boise State lost, and San Diego State got the win. And I think I saw Utah State has lost their last 10 tournament games now.
Jeez.
So yeah, kind of some terrors in the tournament for that conference.
Yeah, makes me. I don't know. I wish I had that. That was like one stat that I didn't know going into the matchup, and looking back, it's like, oh yeah, these teams have struggled a little bit in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I thought that there was a chance, like at the beginning of the game, Missouri like turned over Utah State a couple times. They looked kind of frantic, and it looked like, oh, this is happening. Like this is Missouri was scoring well the first 5 minutes of the game, and I thought we were about to see them go for like 100. Like,
really?
Missouri had like 23 points after like 10 minutes, and I was like, wow, they're on pace for like 90 plus.
Yeah, I was thinking that a little bit, like, man, Missouri could just run away with this thing, but I also, in the back of my mind, was thinking about some of the comebacks that Utah State has made this year. I think they came back and won after being down 21 in a game earlier this year. So I know that I just felt like, man, they're not going to let this game slip away. But the beginning of the game for sure. We kind of spotlighted the way that Missouri could exploit Utah State in the turnover battle last week, kind of previewing the game, and I thought that was something that definitely kind of came to fruition for Missouri. Utah State had 14 turnovers, and it felt like Missouri was getting some runouts and stuff that we thought they might be able to do.
Utah State did actually start to make a couple threes in the second half, and I'm trying to see here. They took the lead at 51-49 with 10 minutes left in the game, and Missouri's offense had looked a little bit stagnant.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird just watching both of these teams miss shots, like up and down the court, missing threes. And it seemed like Missouri, what I'm always like screaming for when I'm watching these games at home is just get a paint touch and then everything goes well. Like a lot of times Golston or Carter or Kobe are scoring if they just get 2 feet in the paint, but also it sucks the defense in and you can kick it out to wide open good shooters.
Gives you options.
And so the first 10 minutes of the second half, it was just like, man, we were running a lot of ISO. The ball was sticking too much, and it just felt like we weren't. That was working to some extent, but having to start your ISO possession at the 3-point line, like you see Golston do this a lot, Kobe Brown doing this some.
Yeah, start kind of backing them down.
Yeah, you're starting that ISO at the 3-point line, and you have to eventually get to the rim, and there's only so many ways you can get there without, picking up your dribble or committing an offensive foul or something.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It just it works a lot better if you can just get established and receive the ball in the paint.
Right.
And then, that creates chaos for the defense.
Right. Yeah, there was a point, right there, probably halfway through the second half, where it did feel like the offense was stagnant. I felt like I was having kind of an emotional meltdown. If you're in the Discord, you probably remember that point where, yeah, exactly. When we were just, I felt like a lot of Sean East ISO. He was kind of doing that thing where he gets under the basket and kind of picks up his dribble and he's looking around and he doesn't even attempt a shot, and then he like turned it over, and
that
it's like
one play in particular,
yes.
He passed it right to the Utah State guy,
Yeah.
and then I'm pretty sure that turned into a dunk on the other end.
Yes, it did, and I think I was losing my mind, and I think Dennis Gates was too, because after that point, I felt like that was kind of like when the game changed, and he said like we got to stop doing whatever we're doing, and I think also something kind of hit in Kobe's mind, like it's time for me to take over this game, because there was a moment where Kobe kind of made a play. And it kind of just felt like, okay, I think everybody just knows this is Kobe time. I think all the fans knew it watching on TV. I think Kobe knew it himself. And after that point, he was just money.
Yeah, that stretch there, I think went on a little 8-0 run by himself.
Yep.
Made a couple threes, stepped back. He got to the rim. I can't remember if this was part of that run or not, but there was one play in particular where he like drove past his man and then reverse dunked from under the basket with two hands.
Yeah.
And he just made that look so easy.
It was like, yeah, he kind of drove in. Defender kind of stayed with him, so he kind of looked like he was kind of going to drift back out towards the perimeter, but then just went back in real quickly,
Yes.
and the defender wasn't ready for it. And so, yeah, just reverse dunked it. But, yeah, Kobe was the story of the game for sure, and it kind of felt like if you give Kobe 40 minutes to do what he does, he's going to figure it out eventually. He kind of had a quiet first half, but in the second half, he really blew up and kind of just took over.
Yeah, so that stretch there was part of an overall 13-2 run for Missouri. Demoy Hodge, we got to talk about him too. I mean, for everything that Kobe does, they just complement each other so well. Mm-hmm. And there was a play where Kobe got the rebound, and he threw it the length of the court, and Hodge caught the ball literally like 3 feet from the basket. Mm-hmm. And I think it ended up being goaltending, but laid it up. And there was just so many plays in a short stretch there on that Mizzou run where, you know, they just looked like the superior team, athletically, making shots, defending. And then you look up and they were up by 11 all of a sudden. You're like, okay, we're up 11 with like 5 minutes left.
Right.
I think I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Yeah, I think, you know, at times this season, throughout the year, we've talked about just kind of all of the different threats that can score on any given night, and just the kind of the contributions that we've seen from everybody. But really, as we've gone down the stretch in some of these important games down, you know, as the year's gone on, I really just feel like it's kind of turned into Kobe Brown and Demoy Hodge kind of leading the team. And it does just kind of feel like in the darkest moments, when we really need them the most, those are the two guys that are always there and kind of seem to pull us out of any doubt. And, you know, Missouri's 8-0 in games that are decided by 5 or less points. And yesterday almost kind of felt like that, where it was like kind of coming down to the wire, and then it just really wasn't close there at the end, because those guys just turned it on when they needed to.
Yeah, you mentioned Utah State turned the ball over 15 times. Missouri did a good job defending without fouling, only sent Utah State to the line 8 times. And Ashworth and Funk combined for all of their 3-point makes.
Bless you.
That's a tradition now. Ashworth and Funk 4 for 20. Obviously, the team 4 for 24. So, man, it just felt like at any moment that one of those guys was going to get hot. But also, watching Ashworth out there, he didn't look like a threat, because Missouri's. I don't think of Missouri as having like big guards this year, really. I mean, it seems like just normal, at least when you're talking about East and Honor. But Missouri's defense just wasn't giving him open looks.
Yeah.
The few like clean shots that he got off were like, a couple of them were like 5 feet behind the 3-point line.
Yeah. He kind of broke loose. He kind of broke loose and got a couple of layups a couple of times, but consistently, he was trying. You could tell he was like frantic almost at times, trying to get an open shot, but it just wasn't going down.
And I felt like I guess it's pronounced Akin. I think maybe, I don't know if I was listening too much to like the Mountain West coaches, like sort of hyping him up, but he had the athleticism and the size that I was expecting, and what I've seen in their conference games, it makes sense that he was able to just kind of dominate from time to time and go on stretches where he is a force on the defensive end. But just seeing a similar size player in Kobe Brown, who just has a next level of offensive skill,
right?
It just made me, I don't know, just made me so happy.
He's just a guy in the SEC, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, good player for sure. Definitely a good player, but we've played good players all season long, and I think we were ready for that. And I think that's what felt so good about this game was like, I mean, man, you talk to people in the Mountain West Conference. I think Dave Matter wrote an article where he was kind of talking to anonymous coaches in that conference, and I mean, man, it felt like we were gearing up to play an NBA team or something. Just the way that Utah State was being talked about by some of their peers or the teams that they play, and it just kind of felt like, all right, let's just view this rationally. Missouri plays good teams all year long. What is unique about Utah State that we haven't already seen, and what are they going to bring to the table that Dennis isn't ready for? And I'm glad that we didn't get too scared of all the hype that seemed to be going on kind of leading up to the game. And Missouri has kind of been underrated all year, I feel like, and they kind of just did what they do and took care of business.
Yeah. You said something there that sparked something, but I'm already like the gears are turning in my head. I'm thinking about Princeton. I'm thinking about what we can do there. I watched the first half of that game, and then I was like frantically catching up when the Discord was popping off like, is Princeton about to do this?
Yeah. And
in the first half, I was like, this looks like Arizona's game to lose. I mean, they had the size advantage, and Courtney Ramey was not scoring, but he was doing all the little things, getting steals, finding the open man. And then Princeton just, the last like 10 minutes of the game, they just looked like the better team.
Yeah.
So,
Arizona looked terrible. I watched, like you said, I watched the beginning, and then I kind of watched the end, and man, I almost started thinking, like, even if we have to play Arizona, like, this version of Arizona is not going to beat Missouri. And they looked a lot more fallible than I was expecting, but we don't even have to worry about that.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh no, Arizona got their bad game out of their system, and now they're just going to destroy us.
Yeah.
But they were bad enough to where they aren't going to have the opportunity.
Yeah, it felt like they just kept getting the opportunity to just win the game, and they just down the stretch they could not score. And what is that, probably last game for Courtney Ramey's career?
Yeah, he's out of eligibility. They're gonna have a probably pretty significant roster turnover with some guys going pro and running out of eligibility. But Arizona shot 51% from 2, 19% from 3, and only went to the free throw line 7 times. Princeton shot 56% from 2, 16% from 3, and only went to the free throw line 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, obviously nothing about Princeton from that game really scares you. They did play well on defense. They had 6 blocks. They rebounded well. So you're gonna get their best effort, but offensively, there's just not much about Princeton that really scares you. 4 of 25 from 3, which is almost exactly what Utah State did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like just run it back with the exact same game plan if you're Missouri, because if you like, Princeton's got some size. That was actually they had strangely matched up well with Arizona's size, so that does make me a little bit nervous because Missouri's just not a big team down low. I think probably we'll see more Mohamed Diarra in this game. He only played like 5 minutes and was not very effective, so they just got him out of there.
Got the ball stolen from him and just got pulled.
Yeah. But maybe an opportunity for him against less athletic bigs with Princeton. Although their one guy that scored in double figures, he was doing whatever he wanted against Arizona and kind of making these like NBA caliber bigs that, the guys that we thought were like next level players, he kind of just made them look silly and like unathletic all game.
You gonna attempt his name?
No, you wrote it down, so I'm gonna let you do it.
That's Tosan Awama.
Yeah, that's him.
For Princeton. Yeah, he's legitimately a really good player and has been their best player all season. But again, it's kind of like one of those things where, you know, Missouri's played good players all year. They watched the tape from yesterday, and I think they'll have a plan for him.
Yeah, Princeton doesn't have any players that attempted, like their biggest 3-point threats attempted 170 and 105 threes on the season. One player shooting over 40%, Matt Alaco. So they're not like a 3-point shooting threat, really. They actually shoot probably too many threes for their percentages, but I don't know. Yeah, nothing offensively looks like a threat except for the one guy, and he kind of like brings up their 2-point scoring percentage quite a bit. They also have Keyshawn Kellman, who is another post player. Doesn't play a ton of minutes, but when he does, when he's in there, they're looking to get him the ball in the paint. Mm-hmm. So Missouri offensively, I feel like it's just, you got to let Kobe do his thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, the blueprint, I really think you just run it back. Do the exact same thing. Obviously, that won the game. But Missouri's offense is going to get enough looks to be effective. I feel like it's going to look similar to the Utah State game, where probably both teams don't shoot from three very well, but I bet Missouri wakes up, starts making threes, get Hodge going, get Kobe the ball in the paint. He's going to open things up for Carter and Golston. Mm-hmm. Golston had a pretty quiet game offensively, made some plays, but was inefficient. Mm-hmm. So maybe he gets a little bit of a bounce back.
Yesterday for Princeton was a really low possession game against Arizona. What tempo do they typically play at? You got that pulled up?
180, 180th.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, right in the middle basically.
Yeah, I think I felt like the game didn't go as quickly of a pace yesterday for Missouri, Utah State. I thought that was like a lower possession game than I was expecting. I think Missouri could try and spin them up a little bit tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah. Against Princeton, I think they could try and play a little faster pace than they did yesterday, and it could work out for them. But yeah, I agree. I mean, same game plan. This is a team that you're more athletic than, you're more talented than. Just be who you've been all year on offense. Let your good players do what they do, and on defense, yeah. I mean, you got to stop Awama, and I mean that's the key to the game.
Princeton does not turn you over. One of the worst teams in the country at generating steals and turnovers, but they don't give you very many second chances. They don't allow offensive rebounds.
That's fine. We weren't going to get them anyway.
Right. So yeah, you can just abandon all hope for an offensive rebound, but then don't turn the ball over. Get a good look first time down, mm-hmm. and we'll be fine.
Do you feel any? Obviously, we're talking about a 15 seed here. This is an opportunity to exercise some demons.
That's true.
If you've watched Missouri basketball for any length of time, you probably know what I'm talking about here. Is there any pressure to win this game now that you're in that spot with that opportunity?
Yeah, I think there is, but it's almost like a welcome pressure. I feel like mm-hmm. It's less pressure. It's more like an opportunity. Yeah. I think I'm not too scared of it because there's only been a few times where a 15 seed has like actually made some noise in the tournament.
Like probability wise, we're still talking about like extremely low chance that Princeton wins 2 games in a row here.
Right. So, and actually, obviously when you're talking about a 15 seed, you're thinking of 2012, and what happened in 2012 was Florida was the recipient of basically a walk in the park to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm. When Norfolk State moved on to the second round. Yeah.
So I feel like, I mean, if you're the 7 seed or like a 10 seed that pulls off the upset, you are rooting so hard for the 2 seed to go down, and then you can basically take their path to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm pulling up Florida from 2012.
I feel like I remember it was a blowout.
Yeah, so they had freshman Bradley Beal, and they beat Norfolk State 84-50, and then went on to beat Marquette and end up in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things where it's like, in that first round, like, nerves are probably high, the hype of being in the tournament, and yeah, I mean, the pressure of being a 2 seed, a spot that Missouri hadn't really been in a whole lot, obviously, back in 2012. I think that first round game is just different enough to where you play that 15 seed in the second round when you already know what they're capable of. You got that film from 2 days ago. I don't think that nervous pressure is there as much as it would be in the first round. And now that Missouri kind of has the monkey off their back, that they won that first tournament game, that they, in 13 years, they got that out of the way. I'm not that nervous about it. I think we're going to be fine.
Now, maybe to introduce a little bit of caution here, Princeton is going to be thinking the same way. Like, they beat the 2 seed. They did,
Yeah, they got nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly. So now maybe I feel like that still benefits Missouri more than it benefits Princeton, because Missouri is thinking they've had the mindset all year of we can beat anybody. And maybe Princeton now feels that because they beat Arizona, but from the trying to have like a rational take as a fan base, I feel like if you're a fan of Princeton, you're thinking, hey,
we're happy
this is incredible. Like, we did this, we made it out of the first round, and yeah, I like the opportunity for Missouri. I think if it weren't for this game, I feel like it's gonna go exactly like the Utah State game went. That's not how I expected the Utah State game to go. But I feel like both of these teams are going to Princeton and Missouri are both going to try to pound the ball inside, and Missouri's going to do enough with takeaways and 3-point shooting to put us over the top. I think Missouri wins 83-70.
Yeah, when we've talked about it all year, Missouri's not lost a game outside of Quad 1. I don't think that begins tomorrow against Princeton. I think they know how to take care of teams that they're better than. They've done that all year. I think they'll keep doing it. So I think, give me 80-70, Missouri.
Do we know a time for this game yet?
5:10 Central Time.
Okay,
Saturday.
Nice. Okay, basically primetime matchup.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what channel it's on.
TNT. According to Ken Pomeroy. Ken Pomeroy, man,
he's getting blasted.
Yes,
I love it. It's like this thing where it's like I simultaneously think it's hilarious that Ken Pom's just getting destroyed, and also I love Ken Pom, and we use his product every single episode because it's fantastic. Yeah. But you do have to kind of just take it for what it is.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Just seeing and we've talked about it so many times, but looking at the defensive metrics column for Missouri, it's just what are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
So it's going to have some weird outcomes.
And I feel like he would even tell you that.
Yeah. This team kind of broke my system. Yep, I don't know what to tell you.
It's just an input.
Yeah. Let's go to the Sweet 16. How's that sound?
I would love to do that.
Who's out there for Sweet 16 matchup?
They
Creighton?
Would most likely play Baylor or
Baylor.
Creighton.
Yeah.
Baylor's a 3 seed, but Creighton's the 6 seed that could get there. But Creighton has not even played a game yet. They play today in their first round game, so they have to play whoever the 11 seed is there. NC State. Yeah.
And Baylor plays UC Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to get through Princeton first. I think we can do it.
I genuinely have a good feeling, so I don't know if that's bad or not.
Hey, 2 for 2, good feelings and wins. I'll take it. Anything else before we head out of here? Just a short little episode, just to recap and get excited for this Princeton game.
Yeah, just generally the tournament. I thought a pretty good tournament day yesterday. Like the first half of the day was incredible with like obviously Missouri winning, the Furman buzzer beater.
Mm-hmm.
Some fun games yesterday. I felt like some of the night games were blowouts. Texas A&M got the doors blown off by Penn State. Penn State looks really good. Penn State was the 10 seed that I did not want to play, and I'm glad that we did not draw them because they looked really good. Man, historically, it feels like Arizona and Virginia get knocked off early, and those are the two teams that went down yesterday.
I feel like another one to put out there that they're not going to lose their first round game, I'm sure, but Purdue, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I lump them in my head with those other programs. So like, yeah, you've been a top seed lots of times and you haven't done anything with it.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think that will continue on this year. I'm not real scared of Purdue.
Somebody's going to knock them off.
Marcus Sasser apparently re-aggravated his injury yesterday against a 16 seed, so who knows what's going to happen there. I don't think Houston makes it very far without him. So
yeah,
a lot of chaos yet to come, I think.
Yeah, it's already been a fun tournament. It's going to continue. The weekend games I'm excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Take us there, Dennis.
Take us. Sweet 16, here we come, hopefully.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan Ben Smith, Parker Daddy JD, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Gruffalo, Brandon Hanks, and Matthew Tilley. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, or on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
See you next week. Thank you for listening. See you next week after a win.